In this video, we'll talk about what professional MMA fighters take in their diet. We're used to thinking that fighters and wrestlers have about a dozen eggs, bananas, and a half a cow 3 times a day, but that couldn't be farther from the truth because athletes, such as footballers, fighters, etc., have to be extra conscious about their food intake. Let's see what the diet chart of a typical MMA fighter looks like. First up, what is an MMA fighter's calorie intake? It's incredibly crucial for MMA fighters to have the right balance of energy, muscles, and even weight. This is all possible when they intake a certain number of calories that's up to par with their physical attributes as professional fighters. For instance, an imbalance in calorie intake can cause a fighter's energy levels to be steep, which can affect their muscles and cause cramps. The same goes for the amount of sugar, fat, and protein they take every day. But the thing is that the magical number is different for every person. An MMA fighter must maintain their calorie intake based on their activity level, professional level, weight, height, age, and professional expectations. They should know the exact calorie intake to ensure the physical structure and form they want to maintain for the rest of their careers. Their nutritional chart should consist of a balance of vitamins, carbohydrates, minerals, proteins, electrolytes, fats, and even water. Since MMA fighters burn a lot of calories during intense training, their diet must be adjusted according to their current training status. An average athlete needs to take at least 3,000 calories per day, which shouldn't exceed 3,500. MMA fighters also have to keep their hands away from candies, sweetened drinks, junk food, and even coffee sometimes because they're a source of low nutritional value and bad calories. Since a single hour of intense training can burn anywhere from 1,700 to 2,000 calories for an MMA fighter, it's important to have a diet enriched with potassium, magnesium, sodium, fruits, vegetables, protein powder supplements, and more. Up next, this is what an MMA fighter has for breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but that doesn't mean going all out, especially for a professional fighter. A nutritious breakfast is important for setting the tone for the day, so MMA fighters prefer carbohydrates for breakfast. This allows them to fuel up, and consuming about 500 to 700 calories is just about right to start a tough day of training. Professional fighters would usually have a wholesome breakfast with low-sugar cereals, some whole grain toast, a glass of milk or fresh fruit, and some porridge. Don't expect this on a fighter's menu, right? Wait till you hear about what experts recommend elite fighters to take for breakfast. One of the top breakfast choices for MMA fighters includes oats packed with flavor so they don't taste like cardboard. A nice bowl of oatmeal spiced up with nuts, spices, nut butter, coconut flakes, fruits, and more is packed with the nutrition that a fighter needs. Besides that, the breakfast menu can also include eggs in any shape or form that the person may like, along with protein powder, yogurt, almond milk, nuts, vegetables, etc. Coming up, what are professional MMA fighters' pre-workout and recovery meals? Since professional fighters work out more than regular people, they're allowed to consume food a bit more than normal people, but that doesn't mean cheeseburgers and fries. This only means that they can have a balanced meal before and after their workout to keep them energized. Many amateurs don't even know if they should eat more or less before and after a workout, so uncertainty can sometimes end up in disaster. Professional fighters recommend having a pre-workout meal that should be taken about an hour before starting exercise. It should be a small, nutritious meal that should mainly be composed of proteins or carbs. For instance, a pre-workout diet could include a protein shake, eggs, chicken, and even fresh fruits. Before sparring sessions, trainers recommend that fighters have a nice meal at least 4 hours beforehand. This means it can either be 2 to 4 eggs, fruits, oatmeal or toast, or any form of good carb that can sustain the fighter for a 60 to 90 minute sparring session. Apart from eating, fighters also concentrate on taking juices rich in nitrates. A good glass of pomegranate juice or a beetroot smoothie would do wonders before a session. These nitrate-rich liquids work as a natural pre-workout supplement. Following up, do MMA fighters have plates full of meat for lunch and dinner? As explained before, athletes eating more doesn't mean they're consuming kilos of meat and eating like it's the end of the world. Their diet is restricted, but focused on the ingredients which best coincide with their professional goals. We talked about breakfast and pre-workout snacks, and now it's time to know what's for lunch. For MMA fighters, they're supposed to have a short yet light lunch, which means that their portion should be small, full of fuel, and low in fat. Lunch should include a protein such as chicken or meat, a side of veggies like lettuce, broccoli, or spinach, with another side dish such as rice. MMA fighter John Mainley prefers some sweet potatoes, pasta with red sauce, and chicken for lunch. As for dinner, he'd love some ground turkey, shepherd's pie, and a dash of sweet potatoes. High-maintenance fighters like McGregor prefer to have some dark chocolate in their lunch, and he would even take a glass of milk in the middle of the day. As an MMA fighter, when you have lunch, you probably have 1 or 2 afternoon, evening meals or snacks before hitting dinner. An afternoon snack can include boiled eggs, yogurt, nuts, vegetables, rice, or even toast. When it comes to dinner, the focus is again on proteins and carbs. So a fighter's everyday dinner would usually include some form of protein like minced beef, chicken breast, or a beef patty. The protein should be complemented by side dishes such as steamed veggies, mashed potato or baked potato, and a nice cup of green beans. Protein is the main focus of dinner, so options like steak, salmon, sushi, and roasted chicken should also be on the menu. For the greens, dark leafy greens like kale, broccoli, and spinach would do just fine. Let's look at what MMA fighters eat when they have to cut weight. Cutting and gaining weight is one of the toughest things for a professional fighter because they do it quite drastically. Most fighters have to go through weight cutting as they enter the fight week. If a fighter wants to cut about 10 to 15 pounds before a fight, they try to do so by dehydrating significantly and try to get those pounds back by rehydrating during the next 24 hours. Confused? Well, let's elaborate on that a bit. But before that, a warning, because this method should never be tried without expert recommendation or trainer's advice. MMA fighters usually start the weight cutting process by consuming a good amount of water on the first day, which is around 2 gallons. The weight cutting process goes on for 5 days, and the high water intake is to get the body in the flush mode. After that, the water intake reduces significantly as the days pass from 2 to 1, then half, down to no water on the weigh-in day. The dehydration continues until the weigh-in is complete. Alongside consuming less water, the carb intake is also reduced to a minimum of about 50 grams a day. Yes, that's way too little for a fighter, but it's their best shot at losing weight before a fight. Since carbs pull water into the body, the counter for that is dehydration. So you see how each trick works in coordination? As for a specific food intake, the fighter resorts to protein-rich foods such as leafy vegetables, poultry, fruits, eggs, and more. And finally, do MMA fighters have a big meal before a fight? No. Professional elite fighters don't have a big hearty meal before an important fight. The meals before the fight are extremely crucial, so fighters have to pay extra attention to what they consume before taking a beating, or vice versa. The first meal on the day of the fight should be a big one. MMA fighters usually have a big breakfast full of potatoes, pancakes, steak, eggs, and even bacon. Since they have enough time from the time they ate breakfast to the fight, all that food will be digested. Now the fighters have enough energy in their systems, they can go for a lighter lunch meal and afternoon snack. This can include having fruits and veggies and even just a protein shake. It completely depends on who eats what. Now comes the final few hours before the fight, and these professionals tend to go for an almost empty stomach. They won't go into the fight completely hungry. Instead, they'll take their usual pre-workout snack or a drink rich in vitamins, caffeine, minerals, and other nutrients. So there you have it, folks. Pretty surprised at these extreme diet plans of MMA fighters? Every extreme sport and athlete has its take on what makes them tick in the food department. If the elite fighter's diet inspires you, we suggest you think about it before going for that amazing six-pack body. Don't forget to take loads of greens and some water and lay off that pepperoni pizza. That's a wrap for this video. Would you ever try the MMA fighter's diet? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.